This was interesting this morning because we talked to you earlier, Kevin, after the Kremlin said that President Trump had named the White House as a potential meeting venue, or Washington as a potential meeting venue. And the White House is now saying, yes, they discussed a number of different places. What is this summit all about?
Well, I can tell you that on March 20th, when President Trump and Vladimir Putin talked on the telephone, President Trump congratulating Vladimir Putin for his re-election, the president also said at the time following that call, Julie, that they had also discussed a potential meeting, he didn't say where, and to address the arms race, which he said was a growing concern. So, on response to that, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, spokesperson for President Trump, released a statement within the last hour or so. Let's pull up what she said, because she says essentially that they want to, as the president himself confirmed on March 20th, hours after his last call with President Putin, the two had discussed a bilateral meeting in the not-so-distant future. And she went on to say that this was discussed at a number of potential venues, including the White House. We have nothing further to add at this time. So clearly the signaling coming from Moscow as well as Washington is that there's likely going to be a meeting between Putin and President Trump. And when that is, or any developments, we don't know. And we also don't know if it's going to be before or after the president's meeting with North Korea dictator Kim Jong-un.
Well, and speaking of that meeting, what is the precedent, Kevin, for a U.S. president to meet with world leaders whose nations are under sanctions by the United States? Because we now have these two examples. Is that something that usually happens?
Well, it's quite remarkable, to say the least. And the backdrop, of course, between the United States and Russia's relationship with regards to the upcoming midterm elections and the previous 2016 presidential cycle would be fascinating. We should note that Secretary of State, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton did meet with her counterparts with the Russia reset. But it is quite unusual for the heads of state to be meeting with folks who are being sanctions, as you said, or who are considered, rogue dictators like Kim Jong-un. So the folks that I talk with in the intelligence community tell me that having open communication with the likes of someone like North Korea is positive, but you have to do it with skepticism. And there are some concerns up on Capitol Hill amongst Republicans and Democrats about how these potential meetings would play out.